Hello everyone, and welcome to From the Depths, a game focused around the building and fighting of crafts ranging from ships, to tanks, to planes, to even spaceships. You play as an orphan who was tricked into taking the life of your own parents. Now, with the limited resources at your disposal, you endeavor to conquer the warring factions of Niter, or die trying. Alright, now with the over-the-top introduction out of the way, my name is Chris, and with me here today is From the Depths, not Robert. From the Depths is a game to go into a little bit more detail, which is focused around intership combat of various kinds. There is some lore sprinkled about. It's kind of frenetic and all over the place, and sometimes contradicts each other, and the context is a little bit goofy, but you know what? It's fine. The main gist, gimmick, or gameplay mechanic that is on display is that you create various crafts, you add weapons to them that you design. They're all granular in their construction, and you can fight not only other players' crafts, but an entire swath of crafts that have been pre-designed and assigned to factions, with each of these factions kind of having soft rules that they follow as far as construction and intended difficulty. It all sounds very boring, but I assure you in execution, extremely fun and very much scratches an itch. So with the basic introduction out of the way, I would like to introduce you to my playthrough of the main campaign of From the Depths, taking place on a mostly water world called Niter, or Neter, or Netter, or regardless of all that, I will give you the warning that I am not any good at this game, despite having quite a mini hour in it, and most of my craft are probably on the sucky side of terrible. As well, I am trying to get back into recording anything, and so a lot of my voice and command has left me, so I'm apologize ahead of time for all the stammering and stuttering I'm probably going to do throughout this. It just kind of comes with it. Getting the nervousness back out when you haven't done any kind of video recording in a while is tough. So, without further ado, From the Depths. Alright, so this is where you start whenever you begin a new campaign. We'll be doing the campaign on the easiest difficulty, partially because I like the flow of content if you start at this portion of the map. So, From the Depths campaign is a real-time strategy game which features resource management and unit combat, where you build every single unit you see. Now, the resource management is these things. These are harvesters. They will, you'll never guess, harvest resources. As long as it's within this big, caution striped ring, we're getting material. You can see it there on the right in the green wrench and hammer icon. It is slowly ticking up. However, we're going to be facing off against some big baddies here soon, so we're going to need a little bit more than just what is afforded us at the start. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a build mode here, and I'm going to do something rather fun. I'm going to delete everything, or at least everything that I know costs money. Like that. All the weapons. Now, you'd think destroying all the weapons would put me in a rather disadvantageous position, but as soon as we start building crafts, this entire fortress is going to go away. It's a nice fortress. It looks very fun, but it's not very well optimized, and it's not a very good utilization of time. So we're going to increase the amount of resource harvesters we have. There we go. And make them nice and happy. So now that number is going up even more. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go up here and we're going to take a look at this other craft we have here. So this little craft, quite cute, the starting _ rib. I don't quite know what the name comes from, why it's called a rib, but because of that, it is trash, honestly. This thing is not a very good boat. You can see right now that it's bobbing and dodging and weaving, and unfortunately we want it to be a little bit more stable. It's kind of uncontrollable in this state. So we're going to do something where we go take our person back over to the starting fortress, and we take a look at the starting rib, and we press this nice little button which makes it crisp load. And look at that. It lovingly crisp loaded. Beautiful. So that gives us a little bit more resources, as you can tell. Well on our way towards making something of actual value. So I'm going to go up here to the build menu, and we're going to go to ship. And the first thing we're going to build is the William J. Lepetamine. And so let me explain a little bit about what this thing is. The William J. Lepetamine is a utility vehicle utilized by the entire fleet. It is a general-purpose craft with no clear advantages or disadvantages to speak of. I guess the disadvantage is the small and probably very weak to later craft, but for the earlier ones, that's kind of where this is targeted. This is definitely trying to go after the Deepwater Guard and Onyx Watch, at least primarily. It is 53,000 materials, or I guess 54 if you wanted to round up, with a top speed of 30 meters a second, and a little cruise of 29. It, on the front, has a nice little 179mm deck gun, which fires kind of short heat round with emergency defuse, just in case somebody tries to penetrate the front. It won't cause it to explode. We don't like that. To honor the name of the William J. Lepetamine, it does have an insane asylum and a gambling hall. Perfect for all your insane needs. On the back is a 6x12, I think, arrangement of torpedoes. Mostly explosive-based. I think they're all explosive-based. I could be wrong. No, I think they are. And that's designed, obviously, for other watercraft or submarines. Whichever happens. There's a vertical launch system with 2 torpedo tubes on the... I don't really know what to call this wall. I'm sure there's a name for it. But right here. One is incendiary and the other one is a frag missile. Works quite well. Inside the inside here, it's really the only room that actually is livable. There's some space down here that has nothing in it, but it has the resource harvesters, resource collectors, and that's pretty much it. It has to have a series of repair tentacles to be utilized by the entire fleet, so this, as an all-in-one solution, can harvest resources, it can repair other craft, and it can try to hold its own, and doesn't do too bad of a job at it. But yes, the William Jenine. Now, back to the campaign. Okay, so we're going to build one of these. It's all quite fantastic. And you'll notice that it's got these 20 little hearts going over to it, and that's saying, hey, we're healing you by a good old 20 points. Which is not very fast. So, to remedy that, we can come over here to these tendrils. Repair units. I think those are actually called compact repair tentacles. I think. So if I go here, yeah, compact repair tentacle. And the reason is because there's actual repair tentacles, and you do one of the repair tentacles, it goes dangly. It does dangle. Quite fun. So, now that we've dealt with that, the number has gone up to 60, and this thing is actually being built at some greater amount of speed. So in the meanwhile, let me speed up before we pull in our next craft. Alright, the William Jenine is complete. So let's take a look at this thing. Ah, lovely. Would you look at that? Doing exactly what it needs to. Those little gangly bits going down into the depths to harvest what we need. We're going to take this starting fortress that we had, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to delete. And that gives us a bit more resource. Now, we're not going to be able to take this entire map using just one ship. At least, I won't. And not at this cost. I'm sure somebody could, but I can't. So, in that regard, we're going to go ahead and spawn in a second vehicle, a spy plane. Specifically, the Porcine. So, this is the Porcine. It may look very familiar to you. It is the plane from Porco. As much as I could possibly make it work, I had to stick the engine down into the body and then, keep everything light because physics is terrible as far as, rules go. And I am very much bound to them. And having a giant heavy engine at the top with all of your drag down far from the center of mass is difficult to balance. So, it still isn't perfectly balanced, as you can probably tell from the prop that's pitching upwards. But it works well enough, especially for its intended role. Now, the plane is trying to go after the aesthetic of it, but it also isn't as pretty as some of the things you'll ever see. And that's because this game offers built-in functions to fully decorate blocks, and by adding models, you can even upload your own models from Blender and put them in, and it's actually directly in the game, in the build system. However, I'm lazy. And that's also a rabbit hole that I probably will never come out of if I try, or at least to do any of it. I can probably make this thing 1-to-1, but that would be suffering. So, here it is. It is a lovely little craft. It has 2 of these prefixed, I think they're 60mm cannons, and then 2 missiles, which probably would have helped in the movie, but it is what it is. He's doing his best life. Hidden in the wing, you can kind of make it out, is a radar system, or not a radar system, but a satellite dish system. And its goal is to be used as a sensor for the for the plane itself, so that when you're in the map, it can actually see a larger area. That's why it's a scouting ship, or a scouting plane. Now, the plane itself, not too expensive, 13,000. Material has a top speed of 73 meters a second, which is, you know, not fast as far as planes go. And it does have a few defensive systems as far as anti-munition. It's actually just got little distractors and a missile or a munition avoidance, projectile avoidance system, which I made myself, so it's not very good. But it kind of works when it doesn't dive directly into the water. Again, there's such depth to this game that you could have at any time that you are going to be, if you get into it, you could definitely spend thousands of hours on one craft making it work and look very good. But I digress. Back to the campaign.
Listening.
All right, with the porcine now complete, it can go and start scouting out other areas. You'll notice that our fog of war is slowly disappearing as it moves, and that's because it has that nice radar array antenna thingy, which works very well in our favor. Now, we're surrounded on all sides by these grids, and we have to capture each one to advance on the map. If you are outside of your own territory, there are certain limits and restrictions placed upon you for building, repairing, and everything like that. I think speed as well, but I don't remember exactly. Regardless, we're going to go ahead and, let's see if I have enough. Yeah, I have enough. We'll make a second one. I'm feeling daring.
Listening.
So let's get back once this is finished. And done. It was that easy.
Moving out.
I'm going to have it go out, and it's also going to be doing a little bit of spotting for us and territory acquisition. All fantastic. Our vessel is a little bit more on the lean side right now. And you'll notice down in the... Oop. Oh, it's off. Down at the bottom left there, two numbers. One says nearby, the other one says commodities. In the game, there are two actual forms of resources. One is materials, one is commodities. Materials are what the crafts use to build themselves, to convert into ammunition, fuel, anything it needs. Commodities become materials. But the only way to get commodities is either through the politics of the council meetings, or by making them yourself. And you make them yourself by having 1 million materials and then setting up a massive manufacturing facility which converts them for you. Problem is it converts it at a loss. So yeah, I don't want to use them quite yet. I want to hold on to them for right now. There's not much I can do with 30,000 anyway. And so instead of that, I'm just going to wait out the clock up here and wait until the meeting is called. The meeting is a council meeting. The council is a group of all factions which come together and figure out who's going to go to war with who and what you're going to do about it. Most of the time, you can do nothing, but we shall see once this time is up exactly how good or bad our prospects are as to who we need to fight. So, again, speed up time. Now, with one of the grid map areas completely and totally occupied, we're going to move our little porcine up there to capture the next one in line. You can only capture areas that are unoccupied or occupied by someone you're at war with, and you have to, you can only take areas which are connected to yours. So you can't have the border gore of Hearts of Iron 4 or Stellaris or anything like that. Yeah, the map after in Stellaris after any race decides it wants civil war is always hilarious. So, moving back over, we're going to see how many we have. We have 22,000 materials. And what can we buy for 22,000? I think I'm going to buy a sea skimmer. The sea skimmer is an interesting craft, as you will soon realize, or hear about. The sea skimmer is a small craft that I devised to pretty much act as a resource harvester with a little bit of defense to it. I wanted something that was more like a pleasure craft. And I also wanted to try something that had this kind of like tripod-ish system that had hydrofoils on it. And so it is a hydrofoil craft. At the very bottom, there's a series of hydrofoils. Despite being blocked by blocks before and after them, the physics still considers them to be fully capable. It does not track any kind of blockage for hydrofoils anyway. And so it does work quite well along skimming about the water. On it are a series of resource collectors, not very many, but it doesn't have much power to begin with, and a nice multi-missile layout for pretty much at least doing as much damage to whatever is chasing it as possible. It's not much to look at, but it has nice resource storage and will likely be used as the main material transport throughout the campaign. Even has a little seat and has decided to take airborne. It does that occasionally. I mean, when you have a difference between a hydrofoil and a plane is limited, but still, it goes a little bit. I guess it depends on how choppy the seas are. The craft is 11,000 materials. It's got a top speed of 74 meters a second, just because those hydrofoils do a good job of keeping anything out of the water enough to cause drag. And quite fun. At least it's fun to look at. I would like to drive this. It does have to require a certain amount of assistance through these side aerofoils to keep it balanced, because otherwise this thing is not stable by any stretch of the imagination. Anyway, back to the campaign. Now that the sea skimmer is finished, you can see here that it is currently acquiring resources. And to see the amount of resources available to us, I can actually click this button, and that'll show us the available resources to us. With that, I'm actually going to move the William J. Lepidamine up towards where I assume our front lines will be. We only have 2 neighbors right now, and we could go to war with either or both of them. So that might be interesting. And meanwhile, we now wait. Running down the clock, honestly, so that I can get more resources so I can build things, because once war is declared, it's going to be really tough getting away with things, we'll say. All right, now that we have captured another map part, grid, square, I'm going to look back over and I'm going to see that we have 17,000 materials that we can play with. I want, as soon as the gates open, my forces are going to have to go out and start capturing things quickly. So I want them to have a little bit of defense. For that purpose, I'm going to spawn at least one of these float planes. I actually like the float plane. It's gone through several iterations, but I think it's nice. So yeah. Welcome to the float plane. Named so because it's a float plane. It's a type of craft, apparently. I'm not very big on planes, and I don't consider myself very knowledgeable on this subject, but this is based off of the Kingfisher, which was an American World War II float plane. It is missing the side skirts or the side scoots? Side floats? I don't know. There's likely a technical name for it to help keep the craft upright in the water, but it does successfully get itself out of water without needing any additional help. It has these 3.7-inch cannons on the side, each one firing a nice little heat round, and 2 underwing missile systems, which are just nice frag incendiary with some reinforcement on there to prevent them from being immediately destroyed by any kind of anti-munition system. The goal of the actual plane is more to act as a harasser and a light aid in combat. It's not really meant to be a forefront vessel itself, but it should do enough to at least dissuade or distract enemy craft and help any kind of other vehicles, including an entire squadron, defeat them. At least that's the goal. Can't really say. Otherwise, 15,000 material and 81 meters a second top speed. It's quite decent. I had to go through a few iterations on this. It does have a small little ejection system out the back for some decoys, missile decoys if that happens. And yeah. Anyway. Not much else to say. Back to the campaign. And what I did there was just completely and totally forget that the Sea Skimmer did not have any manner of repairing or building another craft. I could have sworn I did that revision at one point, but I may not have saved the changes. So that happens. You can actually build completely in the campaign mode. It would be an interesting playthrough for somebody to build explicitly and exclusively in the campaign mode as it was playing. I don't know how easy that would be, though. A lot of times you design it out of the game and then pull in and start spawning your craft, so at least that's how I believe the system is intended. I have no idea. So for now, we'll move our forces over to more advantageous spots. And then probably just wait out until the council's ready. It's only a little bit away, and we have time skip. So, time skip, go. Now, with 1 minute left on the clock, we are going to, I guess, move our float plane over here to join the rest of them. I haven't combined them into a fleet yet because I need to see exactly what's going to happen. They also are very low in material, which is one of the reasons you have commodities. Commodities can be applied to anyone at any time, so it means that it doesn't have to, you don't have to worry about it. Like I can go here, gift them 10,000 of the commodities, and suddenly everybody's happy. At least more happy. The time ticks down. This introduction part of the campaign is always intended for you to kind of establish your logistics pipelines, or at least plans for how the campaign is going to go forward. Each of the different difficulties has you starting on a different map, but for now, go time. So these are the various factions of the game, at least in the base content. Going from left to right, we're going to start with the Steel Striders. These are the U.S. military. That's just what they are. It's the U.S. military. It's that simple. Next is the Twin Guard. They are robots, drones, AI units. A sentient computer that's decided to make absolutely gorgeous craft that look divine, or mechs. It's strange. Next is the Scarlet Dawn. They are, by some capacities, the hardest faction. They are either people from this world that went out into space and decided, bump this, space is awful, and came back and tried to destroy everyone, or just aliens. Verdict's out on that. The lore is kind of a little inconsistent. Next is the Onyx Watch. These people are like Arab spice traders that also are German and saw a castle once and thought it was the coolest thing ever and have decided to make all of their craft castles. All of them castles. They all have very castle designs. Very good. They're ships are slow and well armored. Then you have you, right here in the center. Not much more to say. It's you. And the White Flayers. They are a religious fanatic cult that said, bump any sort of prophet or prophecy, we're into murdering things. And so all their stuff is very dedicated around devices of torture, devices of execution, and quite horridness all the way across. You then have the Lightning Hoods. These are cyberpunk corpos. Yeah. All their craft are very futuristic, have used like light, like laser weaponry and particle accelerator cannons and everything like that. Very advanced tech. You then have Grey Talons. These are Native American diesel punk, really like Native American diesel punk air pirates, sky pirates, sorry. And they are very difficult. Their craft never touch the ground. They make it a point not to touch the ground, but that also means that they have way more mobility than you do, and they're not afraid to use it to destroy you. Lastly, on the right, we have the Deepwater Guard. This is Pirates of the Caribbean, and Pirates of the Caribbean sometimes in the sky. Welcome to Captain Jack Sparrow. Yeah. So we get to see exactly what we're actually faced against when it comes to fighting our foes here. The first is going to be, or some of these options are grayed out, and that's because I don't have enough commodities, as you can see, to kind of bargain my way into any of these combats. You can join forces against other forces, and for the sake of this, I'm probably... I can't fight the Deepwater Guard? Okay, the only way I'm going to be able to fight the Deepwater Guard is also fighting the Onyx Watch and the Twin Guard. This could absolutely destroy me. And it means I'm going to have to go north first. But you know what? Nothing ventured. Nothing gained. We stick with it. So, first thing we do, take our craft, and we start moving out to capture as much territory as we can, as quickly as we can. Actually, I'm going to move you down here, and you over here. Now, this act actually got me some commodities, as you can see in the bottom left. And these commodities I'm going to use to build some things to not die as quickly as I might otherwise. Yeah. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to just installations, and I can make a little mining derrick. Mining derrick is a very useful thing. It's a little bit more expensive, especially compared to the Sea Skimmer, but I think it works great. The mining derrick. This is one of the most try-hard designs I've ever made. At least, I don't know, try hard to look good. It functions. It looks like a thing. So at least I have that going for me. It is a floating, moving, effectively a boat. It's a craft by the game's logic. And all it's designed to do is sit there and procure a whole bunch of resources and hold it for anyone. It's not very fast. I did add a series of maneuvering jets and props to the floaters, the legs, in an attempt to make it faster. There was a previous campaign where I used a design similar to this. It was kind of based off of it. And the issue with that one was the fact that although it would move, it moved so slowly that I had issues deploying them. And so I wanted something that was faster. This is not the case this campaign. I think I've remedied that design problem, and yet the more powerful movement remains. It does have a series of repair systems inside, and the repair systems are just there to help create any vehicle. The first version didn't have anything to... It was very purpose-built, and so it kind of fell short in a few design, like mission parameters, we'll say. So this one I think is far more viable in every regard, as a little bit more storage and everything else. But otherwise, a mining derrick. Costs 45,000, or I guess 46,000 materials, and has top speed of 18 meters per second. The original version was 9, which was extremely painful having to wait for one of those things to cross the map onto a resource zone to start collecting. But despite all this, mining derrick. Back to the campaign. And with that, the mining derrick is finished, which is good, because we now are back to no materials. For this, I fully expect I'm going to be taking this Sinner's Outpost over here as soon as I have access to it, so I'm going to move the Sea Skimmer over to join forces with the little southern scouting plane here. I have not seen any foes yet to contest me. They are probably well on their way to come kick my rear end into the past. Fully and painfully. Which I'm not looking forward to. But one of the reasons for actually building the mining derrick is that it has a better opportunity, or better capability of building ships. What I need right now is some offense. So the first thing I'm going to build is the Zaprow Tower.
Receiving.
Points to you if you get that reference. The Zaprow Tower is a nice, hefty little destroyer, named after the Canadian folk hero? Sure, I'm going to go with that. Has a big gold cram cannon on the front, nice 4-missile vertical launch system, unshielded, but 6 torpedoes at the back, and 2 of these nice casemate cannons that fire... What do they fire, actually? I'm trying to remember. Heat AA. Which, I called it Heat AA, but I forgot to... You know what? I'll just fix that. I will just fix that. That was supposed to be, I think, yeah, that's supposed to be a time fuse. It is what it is. It is what it is. Strange as it is. I don't think that shell will work very well, if at all, but whatever. As for defenses, it has a laser anti-munition system, a little spin block, so that there's always a face facing everywhere. It doesn't really work that well, but I like it more for the concept than the execution. The detection is decent, and it's got a little camera and things up in the top here to... I don't remember why that block is there. I don't even remember... Oh, that's the steering wheel. Okay. Well, that shows how much I'm paying attention to the things that I build. Anyway. The craft is 64,724 materials. It has a top speed of 33 meters a second, which I could probably get faster out of a craft this size, even if it's stuck to the water. Because the water here is very thick. Very gel-like. But otherwise... Zaprow Tower. Now, we return to your regularly scheduled programming of me likely failing the campaign. Alright. The Zaprow Tower is complete.
Receiving.
Fantastic. So, with it done, I am going to attempt to hoard in on the Sinner's Outpost over here and have it join up with the William J. Lepetamain to do an assault from the northwest. This is a very slightly terrifying situation, because I'm not exactly sure whether or not this is a good idea for me to be spreading so thin.
Moving out.
But time will tell how much of a fool I am. All right, so I am going to do a second destroyer here. You can see when the 115 that's traveling over that this is actually a quite a quick process for construction. But we'll come back once it is finished, because it does take a minute. All right, now it is done.
Receiving.
Let's see, strategically,
Listening.
I should...
Listening.
Oh, this is tough.
Listening.
You fix it to where you aren't going to collide with each other the second that you go into play here.
Moving out. Receiving.
And I'm going to move you over to support. So now is the time of us actually moving in to engage. It's going to be very interesting. Ah, grouper. I'm going to have to fight that grouper. But I got to wait for that to be here. Oh, this is going to be a big battle. This is going to be everything all at once. And I only have these. You know what? You know what?
Receiving. Moving now. Moving now.
I'm going to have to just do these three. That's all I can do. I don't want that grouper getting away. It's got materials. And to the victor go the spoils.
Listening.
The spoils in this case being land.
Moving now. Moving now. Receiving. Moving now.
I'm going to move.
Receiving.
Oh, this is tough. This here. Ooh.
Receiving.
And I'm going to change priorities of this, where I'm going to move him up there. Yes. This is the early game. It is very tough as I'm trying to expand in two directions at once, and I have no idea when retaliation will come, because it will. It will. And when it does, it's going to hurt a lot. So, I will probably stop this here and consider this the first episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I apologize if you did not. I will be reprimanded by those responsible or, you know, in charge swiftly. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed it and have a good rest of your day.